One of the core themes of the Boruto era is that the series has a very serious discussion on fatherhood. It started in Naruto chapter 700, where we saw Naruto struggle with making his son Boruto understand that as the Hokage, there would come times when Naruto would have to consistently put the village before his own son. It continued a few months later into early 2015 with Naruto Gaiden, where we saw a key theme throughout those 10 chapters on the message of parenthood. The Mitsuki one-shot chapter that came out about a year later showed us Orochimaru's perception of parenthood, with Mitsuki being a clone that was created by Orochimaru, and Orochimaru dropping breadcrumbs to allow his son to walk within reason down his own path, showing that a father doesn't have to be someone who created a child through the union of man and woman, but instead a child can be created through science, which isn't too far-fetched given that in our own world, people have children through unconventional ways now. Now, when you get into the Boruto era, the anime has finally begun adapting a portion of the manga that has Naruto vs. Jigen, a clash of ideologies when it comes to fatherhood. The anime even gave us extra scenes showing us more Kawaki's upbringing and adding more to the Kawaki and Jigen relationship. So what I want to do today is go a little bit deeper than our normal videos. I want to truly break down what I believe are the core messages and themes of fatherhood as a way to truly prepare the anime-only fans for the upcoming events in the Boruto anime, where you have Naruto vs. Jigen. Naruto and Jigen are a very interesting pair when you look at the dynamic between the two. Both men are fathers, that's something they share together. Naruto is a loving father to his two children, Boruto and Himawari. Jigen is a pseudo-father to Kawaki, but not in the compassionate way that Naruto is to Boruto. This has produced two drastically different children. Boruto is a child who's never known anything other than the loving embrace of a father, and his upbeat outlook on life is a byproduct of him having a spoiled upbringing. Kawaki, on the other hand, only knows what it's like to hide behind corners from Jigen, as shown in the manga during Kawaki's flashback, and most recently in the anime we saw an extended version of Jigen beating and crying Kawaki with his long black rod. However, it's through Kawaki that we're able to see how drastically different both men are as fathers, and Kawaki serves as the connection between the two, which makes their inevitable showdown something that is so satisfying for fans. Naruto, when talking about power, teaches Kawaki about the importance of ninshu, using chakra to connect people, using chakra as a means of love. Jigen merely wants to use it for his own selfish means to bestow a karma seal to Kawaki, regardless of how many children die in the process. The two men are on opposing sides when it comes to raising their children, but they aren't the only ones, and for as great of a father as Naruto is, he certainly is flawed. He's not going to bring home any Father of the Year awards. In Jigen, we see someone who's more of an extreme version of Shin Uchiha, Orochimaru, and even the mad scientist Amado. Shin Uchiha used his sons as mere tools. They were used to attack his enemies and do his evil biddings. He never showed them love or affection. They existed as an extension of his own will to a certain degree. When he was critically injured, they served as organ donors for him to harvest their insides for the purpose of restoring his body to its previous state. The Shin clones never truly saw what it means to have a real father or have a father flash a loving smile at them. Where Jigen becomes the extreme version of this is, while he does have some similarities to Shin, viewing his son as a mere tool, Jigen is far more manipulative. Jigen understands the basic human emotions, that need to belong to something else, to be felt needed by others. When he finds Kawaki, he finds a boy who's been beaten by his father, breaking down into tears as his father sails into Jigen, and truly frightened of Jigen as they leave his home. However, it's in that moment you see the parental side of Jigen suddenly show up, where he touches Kawaki on the back and he speaks to him calmly to reassure him, doing everything that a father should, even at times being shown smiling at him. However, the reason why this is so much worse is the fact that Jigen wasn't smiling because he loved Kawaki. He was smiling because he loved what Kawaki represented for him, a potential vessel to bestow the karma seal onto and further his plans. If Kawaki was incompatible and died, Jigen wouldn't have cared. Being emotionally manipulative of a child when they are at their most vulnerable point and seeking stability is far more worse than merely emotionally neglecting and abusing your child like Shin Uchiha did. With Orochimaru, we see a different side of fatherhood. Orochimaru hasn't slipped his snake into some lucky woman and made a baby. Instead, Orochimaru used science to create his own child, But he didn't just stop at Mitsuki and his brother Long. He created several versions of Mitsuki. While he did allow his son to go to Konoha, it was just as much of a way to allow Mitsuki to experience a new setting as it was a chance to allow Orochimaru to collect more data for scientific reasons. We see that in moments where Orochimaru is seen viewing the memories of his son Mitsuki. While Mitsuki is his son, he is also a precious work of science, hence the cursed seal that's put on Mitsuki's heart to prevent anyone from mimicking Orochimaru's research, that very same research that went into creating Mitsuki. Should Mitsuki go too far off, Orochimaru has that seal to destroy his son, the option to erase his memories and start over, or he could do the deed with his own hands and merely start over fresh with a brand new Mitsuki clone. While Orochimaru has grown fond of Mitsuki during the time that he has been his parent, deep inside of him is still the man who cut up young children for research purposes nearly 2 decades ago. Where Jigen takes Orochimaru's fatherhood and pushes it to a more sinister level is the fact that Orochimaru never went as far as Jigen. Jigen knowingly tried to use words to emotionally manipulate Kawaki, all while knowing that in the end, the very soul of the young boy that he was raising would be sacrificed as a direct result of his actions. On some level, Orochimaru actually does care for Mitsuki's well-being, but the same cannot be said about Jigen for Kawaki on a parental level. It's more Kawaki being a vessel that matters more, whereas Orochimaru, especially in the light novels, has a certain level of fondness and love for his son, who also just happens to be an experimental subject. But nonetheless, there is still love there. Now, Amado's where things get really interesting. Amado was recently revealed in the last manga chapter that he once had a daughter. Some people, such as myself, go back to the Japanese translation from a couple of years ago where Amado referred to Delta as being his daughter, but others have said maybe that this daughter is actually Ada, the new character revealed in the Boruto manga, as being the actual daughter of Amado. Regardless of which you believe to be true, there is one thing to take in mind. If either of these women are indeed his daughter, then that means that Amado, who at the time would have been a father, took the deceased body of his child and he remade it into ninja tech to bring her back to life. Now, this isn't much different than Dr. Gero from Dragon Ball, which saw Dr. Gero take Lapis and Lazuli, 2 human teenagers, kidnap them and biomechanically enhance their bodies and turn them into artificial humans, 17 and 18, 2 humans who have been enhanced by science. A more accurate and modern comparison would be to look at Brixton from the Fast and the Furious spin-off movie Hobbs and Shaw. He was a man who was on the brink of death and saw his body mechanically enhanced to become a cyborg, which, to restate, is still a human being. It's just a human being that has been mechanically enhanced. Now, if Amado did do something like this for his daughter, whether it be Delta or Ada, it shows the father in grief crossing moral lines to bring his daughter back to life, which will explain why Delta had a cutoff switch that no other car member seemed to have, and Ada cannot use her powers on Amado. Amado potentially violated the very laws of nature in an effort to save his daughter, which does show that there's a father who is willing to cross any line if it means saving his child, which is a basic human instinct in my opinion. The parent will always protect the child no matter what the actual circumstance is. Again, that's just my view on parenthood though. Now for Jigen, however, using Amado's research was just meant to be a way of furthering his son Kawaki to make him a more perfect vessel to be used in the future, because we do know that Amado's research that he potentially used to save his daughter was used on Kawaki to further make Kawaki a perfect vessel for Jigen. There was no loving intent behind anything Jigen wished for Amado to do when Kawaki was experimenting on. It was all self-serving to reach the ultimate end goal of Jigen. This brings us to Naruto and by extension even Sasuke, the 2 men who would wind up in Jigen's crosshairs. While Child Protective Services likely paid Sasuke a visit after he nearly put a sword through his daughter's skull in Naruto Gaiden, Sasuke still possesses a deep love for his daughter. We see it especially in the light novels, Naruto Parent and Child Day, Sasuke Shinin the teacher's star pupil, and Sasuke Retsuden, that Sasuke is aware of how much his daughter looks up to him, loves him, and has built him up in her head as a version of himself that Sasuke feels that he will never truly live up to, but he still works to live up that image of her that she has in his head. That's part of why when Sarada cries out Papa during Naruto Gaiden, that he stops short of killing the Shin Uchiha clones, because killing in front of his child would shatter that image of himself that Sarada holds so dear of him. On the other side of that, you have Naruto, someone who knows all too well the importance of a father's presence in a child's life, because Naruto never had anyone there when he was growing up. Every night he would walk home to an empty home, absent of love, locked away in a room with only his darkest thoughts in his lonely heart. As a result of Naruto's upbringing, the home that his children return home to every day is filled with love. The youngest daughter adores her father, as does his firstborn son, but Naruto's definitely had his struggles. Gone are the days like the post-credit scene from Naruto the Last, where Naruto, a few years before he became Hokage, was shown playing outside with his 5-year-old son Boruto and his 3-year-old daughter Himawari. With Naruto being Hokage, there were birthdays that were missed. There were other milestones that were moments for his children that Naruto couldn't be there to celebrate for because of his Hokage duty. However, everything he did as Hokage was done to ensure that his children continued to grow up in a time of peace. The worn edges on the picture frame in his office wearing down at the wood over time because of how often and how tightly Naruto gripped the photo of his family that he couldn't be with, despite how much he wanted to actually do so. Even after the versus Momoshiki arc, where we see Naruto giving piggyback rides to Himawari, and in the current anime arc sitting down with dinner with Boruto, Naruto still struggles with the roles of Hokage and father. Though despite the obstacles, he's nurtured a son from an infant who he once held in his arms to being a powerful 12-year-old shinobi, showering the boy with love, affection. It's what makes Kawaki feel so out of place when he's part of the Uzumaki household. For the first time in his life, he's actually with a father who cares about him for him, not a father who just relies on him to chop logs in order to purchase alcohol so he can get drunk, not a father who is emotionally manipulative and physically beats him. Also, Kawaki can acquire more power. All that Naruto asks from Kawaki is that he choose to walk his own path forward and allow Naruto to teach him the ways of ninjutsu to help Kawaki free himself of his burdens of his past. For once in his life, Kawaki has a father who truly cares for him and his well-being. It's why the clash of Naruto and Sasuke versus Jigen is so big symbolically. You see firsthand all the representations of fatherhood that have been given to us throughout the Boruto era, and they're entering into a bold clash where everything's coming to a head. While we don't know what caused Kawaki to eventually turn on Konoha in the future, what we do know is that we can start to wonder which version of fatherhood prevailed when it came to Kawaki. Was it the forceful treatment of Jigen that raised him during his formative years, or were Naruto's teachings to Kawaki able to make a deep enough impression that Kawaki could still be redeemed, even going as far as he did? Or is Kawaki a lost soul that Naruto was not able to save because he got to him a few years too late? Which father ultimately won the war for Kawaki's soul by the events of the flash forward sequence is something that's unknown, but we do know that it's going to be one hell of a ride before we get there. But that's going to be it for today's video. Once again, this is a bit of a heavier topic than normal, so I do hope you enjoy it nonetheless. But as always, guys, if you like anything I had to say, don't forget to comment, rate, subscribe, and share. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. Have an awesome day, guys.